Hello everyone, thank you for coming on to my channel, and for today's video I would like to give my comments on the upcoming Ayer Kuning by-election, which has been declared vacant because of the death of the UMNO Adun, who had held it before. Now the contenders between the two in the Ayer Kuning election will be Parti Islam Malaysia and also UMNO. And the interesting thing about this election or this by-election is that in Ayer Kuning there is a significant number of non-Malays in the constituency. I think around 45%, which makes this a very Malaysian kind of proportion, unlike those in the East Coast with a majority of Malay seats. Now, many are predicting that there is no problem for the UMNO candidate to win because before this there was a three-corner fight between Perikatan Nasional, UMNO and Pakatan Harapan, which is won by UMNO. And this time it is expected that the Barisan Nasional will, or the UMNO will get the transfer vote from mainly, I think, the non-Malays to secure an easy win, to the point that Mahfuz Omar had told PAS that they shouldn't even be putting anybody and just give a walkover. Now, for me, this is an interesting thing because we see that both PAS and UMNO have a lot of sin or dosa to the Chinese or the non-Malay community, and we can see this very, very clearly in both attacks by Parti Islam Malaysia and more or less, if we were to say UMNO, it would be mostly Akmal Saleh. So here let us recount what the situation is with Parti Islam Malaysia in terms of them thinking that they can govern the country with their rhetoric of religious extremism, as well as fanning the racial flames. They have, as I said many times, taken over that role of fanning a racial discord among Malaysians by pitting Malays against the non-Malays. And they are more dangerous because they are using religion or Islam to justify this unashamedly. Now we can recount that the chief of PAS in Perak, Razman, who has now been said to be arrested, and many are wondering whether he will be coming down to actually give speeches for the Ayer Kuning by-election, because he is the one who has been continuously attacking Nga Korming, and after that Hannah Yeoh. Both are from the DAP, and he is famous for being known to use words such as only those who have eyes like us and blood like us are loyal to the country, meaning non-Malays are not people to be trusted with the loyalty of the sovereignty of this country. And this is in relation to the waving of the China flag in one incident where he had equated it with Nga Korming, and of course the DAP. The idea being that China communists or communist orang China in Malaysia being the narrative. Razman and also others have also attacked Nga Korming in terms of the Christmas party that was held by the KPKT, and many of the members from PAS have been questioning whether that is something that should be done, because that jeopardizes or threatens the sovereignty of the Malays. There is no such elements or aspect of the constitution that shows this aspect of what they have been saying, that most of the kementerian are supposed to be with the Malays. And then the latest that has made him to be arrested was his accusation of Hannah Yo to be the daughter of the business tycoon and of YTL, and that was the last straw for the party, and Razman has been given what we call the shut up order, and that's why we have not heard him say anything. And we also must recount the idea that Dr. Mastura had mentioned or had alleged that Lim Kit Siang is related to Chin Peng, and also some of the DAP leaders related to Lee Kuan Yew, again keeping the narrative of communism as well as the narrative of another country or disloyalty to another country, as well as the Christian narrative to actually spook the Malays into giving all their votes to the party. This again in using Malay, the idea of Malay sovereignty or the idea of Islamic sovereignty over Malaysia. And that is the narrative that has been fanned, to the point also of attacking the DAP for being kafir harbi or enemies of Islam. And this is all the sins of PAS, and I can recount many more of what Hadi Awang says about non-Malays, that they are like animals, as well as that they are prone to corruption, when in fact most of the corruption we can see are caused by the Malays. Judging by the 170 million ringgit stash that we are being shown, that there is no denying the idea that what Hadi Awang say is absolute nonsense. Now, this is the situation, and on the other part of UMNO, we only have Akmal Saleh that I can think of in the last 2 years under the unity government. He is the only one who has been frequently identified as the person challenging DAP, and also bad-mouthing the DAP leaders, calling Kormeng stupid, as well as Teresa Nyonya Tua. We don't forget all these things. And again, the Chinese were also his target with the KK Mat issue, as well as the ham issue. So it's very clear that Akmal is like Parti Islam Malaysia, targeting Chinese and the DAP. It seems that Akmal is in the same camp as Perikatan Nasional, not in the camp of UMNO. But because he is in UMNO and has not been reined in by the leaders, then many people are thinking, oh, what is this? Is UMNO actually trying to be with Perikatan Nasional? I think the theory here is that there are two factions in UMNO. One of them is, for instance, with the group of Hishamuddin Atun Hussein On and Ismail Sabri, and many suspect that Akmal is also one of those supporting this camp. And this is where Akmal may be said to be a lone wolf, but there is doubtful information to say that if he was the lone wolf, then it would have been easier to shut him up. But why is it that he is still being allowed to bark and also to make all these insolent statements? Now, another thing that needs to be considered by the non-Malays is that in Perak, there is a very close relationship between the DAP and UMNO, of which this is something which many of us are hoping to be a new formula. Now, one group of UMNO people believe that they can only survive with Pakatan Harapan, because Pakatan Harapan comes very close to the Barisan Nasional formula, in which there is a majority of Malays, but all non-Malays are treated with certain aspect of fairness and also dignity. But if they were to be with, if UMNO were to be with Perikatan Nasional, then all of them would be vying for the same pool of Malay votes. You have Bersatu, you have PAS, and then you have UMNO. So that would eventually kill UMNO out. There is also the history between UMNO and PAS with the Muafakat Nasional, in which UMNO, like Zahid, claims that PAS has many times being totally disloyal. But again, PAS is still trying to make UMNO come into their fold, because they know that they cannot become the government if there is no UMNO by their side. So perhaps they are offering the prime ministership to UMNO, but in reality, they are the ones controlling the affair. So here is an interesting situation. One, we have Parti Islam Malaysia, who has shown absolute indignity and absolute insolence to the non-Malays. And also we have UMNO having this working relationship with UMNO, even though in Johor they are not working, but then they are more on the kind of a friendly basis, as well as in Malacca. The reason being is that Malacca was single-handedly won by UMNO, and Johor also was single-handedly won by UMNO, due to the masterful thinking of Zahid Hamidi declaring state election in the middle of COVID-19. And so they squarely won this state, and they did not think that they should share with the other unity government members. So we have a situation where in some places they are not together in terms of being the government, but in a working relationship. But here in Perak, or there in Perak, we have the situation of actual working together, when in fact at the moment we have PAS and not showing any credibility to be working with whom they consider kafir harbi, as well as the enemies of Islam. And so this is something which many of the non-Malays need to be aware of. Of course, there are many criticisms against the unity government by columnists, by social media, by cyber troopers, by a lot of personalities that we think are thinking for the good of the country. But in fact, many of these personalities are either not thinking in a three-dimensional manner, and not thinking in a real politic manner, and always wanting to have their own principles and treating everything as black and white. All of us know that life does not have black and white. It has a lot of gray area, and pragmatism as well as real politics requires a certain situation for us to actually solve problems in a creative manner. And so with that, I think the idea of choosing one of two, even though both parties have certain sins to the non-Malays, but actually one of them has two camps that are working, while the other does not show any potential or any future of working, because of the way they have placed the idea of their faith or religion above the idea of what Malaysia can be. To them, the idea of religion is more important and overwhelmingly important than the interests and prosperity and goodness and dignity of all Malaysians. I am a Muslim. I think this is a wrong attitude of Islam, and I certainly, like Anwar Ibrahim, do not support such an attitude. For me, Islam is Malaysia, Malaysia is Islam, but Islam that is progressive, that is inclusive, that treats everyone with dignity. Now, many may not like that kind of a statement, but I have mentioned many times, Islam is here to stay in the Malay psyche, because the Malays have changed a lot in 30 or 40 years in the past, and this is the path that's going to be traversed, like it or not. All we need to do is to support the path of those who are more progressive and more inclusive in thinking about the wider perspective and future of this country. So with that, I bid good luck to the people in Ayer Kuning, so that they could be having a more matured understanding to send a clear message that they do not accept people like Razman or Akmal Saleh, but they can work with parties that are willing to consider Malaysia as the home for all of us, and not to have any party looking down and say such things like our blood are different. One kind of blood is loyal to Malaysia, another kind of blood is not loyal. And as I have shown in my video with the Malaysian veterans of the army, of the air force, of the navy, as well as the army, and all of these people that I met were retirees from the military, and they were all Chinese. And I do not think that such thing of what is being said about our eyes and our blood being different and therefore being disloyal is something that is very kind or not kind to be said. And this is something which we need to understand, that if a party puts something else above the goodness of all Malaysian, then it is not a party that can be trusted by all of us. With that, thank you very much.